It's been about a month now since the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors commenced a strike action over irregular payment of salaries and other issues. Nainuba Television reached out to our guest today, the President, Association of Resident Doctors, University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, Dr. Ahmed Abdul, to discuss the implications of the strike action by the Nigeria resident doctors. I am Augusta Neka, and thank you for joining us. Dr. Ahmed, can you tell us what led to the strike actions by the resident doctors?
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, viewers. Good evening, Elomba Television. Good evening, NAD members, and good evening, the entirety of Nigerian public who are with us today. At the beginning of the year, the NAD executive, NAD as it's an acronym that stands for Nigeria Association of Resident Doctors. It's important to let us know who the resident doctors are. These are doctors that are working in tertiary institutions who are undergoing training to become consultants. It's important to let us know that the majority of the workforce of the tertiary institutions are the resident doctors. And these doctors, in a way, we can say we are studying to become consultants, and as well as working for the government. And what it means is that studying to become consultants means it entails a lot of things, including payment of what we can call school fees, if we want to use the layman's language. We also pay for updates, we pay for courses, we pay for exams. And these amounts are no mean amounts. So we are the resident doctors. There's a difference between resident doctors and other doctors in the tertiary institutions. We have consultants as well, and then we have other kind of doctors. But the resident doctors comprises of the highest workforce in the teaching hospitals. And asking for what really led to the strike. Okay, from the beginning of the year, some policies came in which negated some of the payment of salaries to some of our members. And in a way, it did not just start from the beginning of the year, because if you look at the nitty-gritties of this strike, you will see that some of the demands date back to as far back as 2016, where we talk about some minimum wages and then some salary shortfalls that have not been paid to our members. We also have amongst us some people that have not been paid in 19 months in some state tertiary institutions. Some for 8 months have not been paid salaries. As much as some other things that happened with the COVID, where a lot of our members succumbed to the effect of COVID, and their death in benefits have not been paid to their people. We also, in this quagmire, a lot of things also came up where we were told that our house officers will be removed from scheme of services. What it means is that they will work, but they will only be paid allowances, and they will not have, they will not be part of salaries. So a lot of issues have really come up that led to this strike. If we recall, there was a strike in the first week of April where some of these issues were looked at. And the government at that point swung into action, telling us there was a memorandum of action that was set in place, and people were asked, some stakeholders were asked to sit and then put that into implementation. And as I speak with you, at that point, we're magnanimous enough to call off, to suspend the strike that started just after 10 days of the strike. We were cajoled to suspend it, believing that the memorandum of action would be put in place. But unfortunately, we reneged on the strike, and the government reneged on putting the memorandum of action into place. And we gave even as much as over 100 days, shifting ultimatum, shifting goalposts, to the point that even our members thought we have sold out to the government. And rising from our NEC meeting in July, precisely 31st of July, a total and indefinite strike was declared, and the government was duly informed. To our own surprise, we were told that they were not informed, and that is the situation on ground presently. It's also important to let us know that in all these struggles, at the beginning of the year, we're told people on the Give Me salary platform will no longer be paid until they are migrated to IPs. What an ideal government should do is to ensure that everybody is migrated, because you can't have people working for you, and then you are the one changing the style of payment, and then you renege on doing what it entails for you to start paying people. So we now have people who were owed salary, who have still been owed salary from January even till date in some centers, even though in some other centers, some of the persons have been migrated onto IPs, especially in my own center. Within the period of these struggles, our management has been able to migrate our members onto the IPs platform. But we have some major centers in Nigeria that are yet to be migrated. And while we are even trying to sort out the problem on ground, the head of service of the country decided that they should suspend the migration of people onto Give Me's platform. This is like, okay, you are denying somebody what he ought to have. We are providing solution, looking for how to do this, and then you now go ahead to pour fuel onto a burning fire already. So with all this put together, in the wisdom of the National Executive Council of NAD, we met and decided that the suspended strike should be kick-started, and that is why we are where we are today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ahmed. Now, this strike is coming when the world is still battling the COVID-19 and its different mutations and variants. Is the strike really the last result that the doctors could go to?
It's very quick for pressmen to ask this question. But the truth is that we have been battling with COVID since the inception of the year 2020. And we know that a lot of people have even died on this, including our members. And we expect that a government that is very sensitive wouldn't allow things to degenerate to the point that the people who are supposed to be battling this same COVID, because we are the ones in the front line of the fight. We are the ones that are being sacrificed to this. So what is there in asking for more protection? Because we are talking about welfare here. We're talking about how to protect ourselves. For God's sake, we are exposed. We are not even talking about the inadequacies of the things, of the equipment we need to even combat the COVID. We have not even, we kept talking about that. You will see one or two caricature of provision that will be done. At the end of the day, they will expect us. We sacrifice a lot even to protect ourselves. Whereas we're supposed to be protected even by the government. We'll sacrifice a lot to protect ourselves. So I don't think it will be fair to use the different variants of COVID-19 to try to fault the timing of this strike. This strike did not just come up when the Delta variant of COVID-19 came up. This strike has been on since the beginning of April. This strike wouldn't have even started if the government had heeded to our request even before the inception of the strike in the first place. So it wouldn't be fair on us for the general populace to use COVID-19 as a measure of timing and this strike action presently.
Now, you earlier spoke about the circular about the work register to implement a no work, no pay policy. How are the resident doctors going to combat this, considering the fact that if you don't work due to the strike action, you will not be paid?
Well, let the public be the judge, because the point is this: no work, no pay shouldn't come in, because our demands are germane. Our demands are not extraordinary. We are not asking for houses in choice areas of the country. We are not asking for cars that we use for our luxury. We are not asking for the government to give us something that we do not rightly warrant. We are just asking for our welfare. So the government bringing in no work, no pay is being insensitive. And that is not the right way to approach issues like this. But then we are undeterred. We are determined to see to this. You see, whatever we do today is not just for our sake, it's for posterity also. So we are ready to combat the government the way they want it. Because if they are sensitive enough, they will know that no work, no pay shouldn't be what we'll be talking about now. What we should be talking about, we should be sensitive enough to look at the health of the nation, to look at what people are going through. But will you blame them? It's not difficult for them to jet out of the country in search of medical tourism. Even those that are not sick, they go out, they spend our money in search of medical care abroad. They go out about throwing monies anyhow. But then I think a sensitive government, even with the things that are happening around, shouldn't even think of no work, no pay. But we see it as a distraction. We see it as a means of, they have already battered the economy. They feel if the economy is even worse off, people will come back to work if they are not paid. But we are undeterred. We are doing this for the nation because tomorrow it will be better off for us. And
okay, remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comments as possible. Now, Dr. Ahmed, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors just got the backing of the Nigerian Medical Association. How is this development going to affect the current strike action?
Well, the right thing to do is to back us up, because whatever we are struggling for today is genuine, like I said before. There's nothing extraordinary, there's nothing unnecessary in these struggles. So NMA is our father, an umbrella body where the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors belong to. So the right thing to do, knowing that our demands are not trivial, they should rightly join and give us their support. We do not expect less than that.
But the Ministry of Labor, the Minister of Labor, Dr. Chris Ngige, have described the resident doctors as being difficult and just too stubborn to negotiate with. Do you think that maybe the resident doctors are not willing to bend even a little? And that's the cause of this prolonged strike.
The facts are on ground that our demands have not been treated with the right sense. The facts are on ground, and Dr. Chris Ngige, is my very senior colleague, is just playing pranks with the government. He's not doing the right thing, and it is important to let him know that this is not what it should be. We shouldn't say because we have an appointment today, then we pay loyalty to the point that at the end of the day, we will not be able to defend what we have done when we have left the office. That office is not a permanent place. So Dr. Chris Ngige, if you ask him in his own, if you meet him one-on-one and ask him, he will know that, yes, what he's doing is not correct. But then because he has employers, probably he's scared of his employers, he will go ahead trivializing our demands, making it look as if we are children. And because he's also a medical doctor, he will now make it look as if, okay, he's the righteous doctor, the rest of us are the stubborn ones. But if you ask him one-on-one to be honest with his faith and whatever he serves, he would tell you that whatever he is doing now is just playing to the gallery to paint himself right in the eyes of his employers. But then the employers, I don't even know if they ask him to help them that way, because the truth is that even the ultimate employer, if you meet him one-on-one and ask him, he may not even be aware of all that is happening. So it's what is being told that he may follow, and then those that are under him would want to paint us bad so that they promote themselves. But then every Nigerian that knows what is happening will know that the health system in this country has been trivialized beyond measures. And until the right things are done, we'll keep on going down the drain. We've not even talked about brain drain, where most of our people go out of this country in search of greener pasture. Just most recently, there was an interview by the Saudi government, and you agree with me that a lot of people were there. A sensible government would want to do something good to keep its people. The Nigerian government pitiably invested so much in building medical schools. in equipping them, and they pay lecturers. So they don't even want return on their investment. You spend so much money to train doctors, and then you see other countries moving them away at no cost. That is a pity. It's a pity, and I wonder how and when the country will start thinking right.
Just before we talk about the brain drain and the whole Saudi Arabia embassy and the interview, let me just ask you this. What exactly do the resident doctors want? What are your people demanding for?
It is multifaceted. We have different demands which have not been taken care of. There's an act called the Medical Residency Training Act, which is an act that is supposed to cater for the school fees I just talked about earlier on, the update courses and everything. It was passed. We benefited from it in 2020. But one thing you should know is that from the moment that act was passed, all the management of the tertiary institutions stopped paying for updates. They stopped paying for exams for our members. And when this was passed, and then it was not captured in this year's budget, our members had to pay their update courses, their exam fees from their pockets. Like I said before, these amounts of money are very heavy. It's not something we'll talk about 5,000, 2,000. We're talking about hundreds of thousands that will pay for exams every year, twice in a year in 2 colleges. And then people pay for updates like twice in a year also, and each of these things run to hundreds of thousands. The updates are not done within every town you live in. You have to travel to some specific places like Lagos, like Ibadan, where you have to pay for accommodation fee. That's just one of the things. It was not captured in the 2021 budget. We're told it was captured in the supplementary budget. And as I speak with you, that has not been paid to any of our members. For last year, a lot of members were skipped. They were not paid. And we're told the areas will also come. As we speak with you, there are some hospitals where our members have not been paid for 19 months. If you've not been paid for 19 months, I don't know if you'll be able to hold the microphone and ask me all these questions you're asking. Then we have also the issues of salary shortfalls that they are owing people as far back as 2016, 2017. Up till now, they've not paid the shortfalls. I'm sure there was work then and there was no pay. But now people are talking about no work, no pay. You understand? So let's look at it that way. We also have the issue of the MDCN taking over the payment of house officers' salaries, which we do not know the business MDCN has with payment of salary. MDCN can enroll house officers, but why would they not become the center that will have to pay salaries? What business have they got? We believe that, okay, if they can recruit and house officers, let the management of various hospitals compile the names and send to them for verification. But let the payment not be controlled by them. I don't know what they stand to benefit by doing that. Now, at the end of the day, we are not even having enough house officers within our fold. Like I speak with you, in my own center, there are some units that you have just 3 house officers manning the whole hospital in the unit, in the department. And this is really telling on the welfare of our people. They keep breaking down day in, day out. We're still talking about that. We've not finished. We saw a circular that came out and said, okay, that the house officers will be removed from the scheme of service, meaning that they will not even be paid salaries anymore. They will be paid allowances. And we heard that Lagos State government has started implementing it. Before you know it, every other state will start implementing that, and that is not proper. As we talk, as we are speaking with you, there's people on GiveMe's, a salary payment platform that has been in existence. Before the end of last year, they said from 1st of January, it will cease being in existence. And they have people on that platform, and they didn't do anything to migrate them onto the IPs, which was said to be used. And those people have not been paid salaries since the beginning of this year. They only give them some percentages from where it comes from, we don't know. And then we have a whole backlog of these people that have not been paid. For 6 months, for 5 months, people have not been paid salaries, and the government of the day is feeling okay with it. Let me ask you as an individual, if the doctor treating you have not eaten in the past 4 days, it will be dangerous to you. We'll try him to touch you. But in all of this, we still circumvent, we will still try to live as superhumans to find a way of still coming to work. But we can see that the government is not even doing anything to assuage these problems. The ideal thing to do is to migrate everybody. Then the head of service came up with this ban on migration of people from GIFMIs to IPs. So if you now ban the migration, how are you going to pay these people? I did not say these people should just be working without salary. These people have been working since January to this point, they've not paid, and the government is talking about no work, no pay. Is that justifiable? I don't think it is. In Abia State, they are owing them up to 19 months salary. In Imo State, up to 8 months salary. They've not paid them, and these people are coming to work on a daily basis. How do you justify this? It is easy for the populace. Yeah.
No, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Now, it's easy for the general public to come out and remind us of the hypocritical oath, but Hippocratic oath, but they have forgotten that even part of the oath, because they don't have access to the oath. But it's very easy for the detractors to just tell them the doctor swore an oath to take care of everybody. But even within the oath, there's that part that says the doctor will have to take care of his own welfare as well, because it's a healthy doctor that can even take care of another person's health. If you've not eaten for 24 hours, you won't be able to do anything with your patient. So it's even when you take care of yourself, it's the general principle of life. It doesn't even have to be in the Hippocratic oath, but it is there and nobody knows about it. Nobody talks about it. Even Dr. Chris Ngige knows about it, but he will not talk about it. So it is easier for the public, and that's why I want the public to know this, that we as doctors, we have sworn an oath to take care of them, but we also need to take care of ourselves. But unfortunately, we are in a climate where even and there's so much insecurity, people die on a daily basis. So it's like the government will now say, who cares? People are even dying already from other sources. So how many will die in the hospital? Of course, it is an insensitive government that thinks that way, and that is the government we have in this country. Sorry to say.
Okay. Remember that you can join the conversation simply by raising up your digital hand, and I'll try to accommodate as much questions and comment as possible. Now, let me ask you this. Have the association thought of involving the National Assembly in this matter? Because I know the National Assembly tried to intervene, but it didn't work. So have the association tried going to the National Assembly and asking them to hold the executive arm of government responsible for their negligence?
The National Assembly has always been playing an interface with, has been interfacing in this. Our own doctor, Honorable Dr. Tanko Sununu, has tried several times. Even Bajabianela has also tried. But then, of course, it's like we are fighting a government that have decided to judge us even before listening to our demands. We have been judged already, so they look at it from that part. Otherwise, the National Assembly, they intervened. In the first instance, when the strike was suspended, it was on the instance of the National Assembly's intervention. And then when some stakeholders were set up to look at the memorandum of action that was set in place. But unfortunately, we know it's easier to make to come up with policies, but implementation has been a problem in this country up till date. The government probably, as it's a matter of ego, has decided to stay on the other side of the divide and insist that we are being stubborn. But if they can just be humble enough to admit that yes, of a truth, we gave ample time for the government to sort out itself. If they can be humble enough to make it to meet us at our point of reconciliation, all this will not be happening. But the government is not even humble enough, and they want the general public to see us as bad people. But even the public, they know we are not bad people. They see what we have been going through, and we want to let them know that we love them, that whatever is happening today is for the betterment of this country. We will not raise arms against this country for nothing. We have not even raised any arms. They are calling us names. We are the peaceful, most peaceful set of people in this country. We've been working very hard. And even sometimes some patients agree that we are actually superhuman. But we are not. It's the grace of God. We break down too. A lot of our members have been breaking down due to poor health facilities in the country, due to poor workmanship, and manpower is so poor, and people keep jetting out of the country every day. Nothing is done to ensure that these people are adequately taken care of to stay back and do the work.
Let's talk about the brain drain now that you mentioned earlier. Now, what will you say about the mass exodus of Nigerian doctors to foreign countries?
It's like when you have a choice to make, you are given a better environment to work. Would you choose the environment that is less of benefit to you? No, we are humans. We crave for better working environment. We have not been assured of a good working environment within the country. So if the opportunities come, of course, people jet out. People go out to look for greener pastures. The economy is biting. You and I agree to that fact that, yes, you have a lot of people that are depending on you. Once you're a doctor, you have hoses dug into your pockets where at the end of the month, you see your money disappearing. Because of that name, doctor, people think doctors are super paid. But that's not the truth. Doctors are not super paid, just that doctors have work to do. And in a country where people graduate from school every day and they are not paid and they are not employed, you see the rate of unemployment is so high. To every doctor, he has over 1,001 persons that are dependent on him. So how can he survive in an economy like this? So if you see that opportunity where you can do the same amount of work, get more appreciation, get more benefits to take care of even your immediate family and those that are appendages to you, why would you stay? So what we expect this country to do is to go and take a template from all these places people jet out to. Borrow a leaf from them. How are you people doing this? Then come back and do it. Not to go there, enjoy yourself 2-3 weeks, stay in a jacuzzi, a swimming pool, and the beach and suntan, and then come back in another 2 months. You are going there. They'll pay you one hardship allowance. I don't know what hardship people go through that they collect hardship allowance and then jet out to go and cruise over there and come back and nothing is changing. If we can be honest with ourselves, when you go out for medical tourism, bring back those things you enjoyed there, implement it in your own country, and people will stay. But we don't do that. We prefer going there on the tourism, go with us a lot of entourage and everything, extra coats or and whatever they call it, and then leave our people to suffer. And we tell ourselves we are strong people, we are Africans. We even go ahead to say disease, no, they kill Africans. So we don't even take care of the basic things we need to survive. If you come to our hospitals, the situation is pitiable. But then you expect people to stay when you're not taking good care of them. I'm afraid that one day we may wake up and discover that there are no doctors in Nigeria anymore. Probably
we pray that don't happen.
I said I'm afraid. I didn't say I am praying. I'm afraid.
I know. I'm saying I am praying that it don't happen. Now let us hear from one of our participants, Elumba Television. Your hand is up.
I thank you, Dr. Ahmed, for being with us tonight. I have one question. I just want to be clear. When did this strike action by Nigerian doctors start? I know you have said it before, but if you can make that clear.
Okay, this present strike started on the 1st of April, 2021. But 10 days after that, it was suspended because we were told that some actions had been set in place to see to our demands, and our conscience was appealed to to call it off and continue seeing the patients while those things are being attended to. And as I speak with you, none of them have been attended to. So on the 31st of July, the suspended strike continued.
So you are saying, so all this long now, for the millions of Nigerians who get sick, who takes care of them?
They come to the hospital. Like I said in my preamble, I said the resident doctors are the major workforce in the hospitals. They have the highest number of workforce in the hospital. Or rather, we do most of the work in the hospital. We also have consultants who are supposed to be on ground to work. But of course, we do most of the work.
Yeah, from my layman's experience, I would say that consultants deal only with very specialist cases, not the, on the ground, on the job work that doctors do. Am I correct?
Yeah, when you're a consultant, you're a specialist in a field, and then you have some resident doctors attached to you who see patients and then inform you when to come in. And also, as is by part of being part of your responsibility, you also supervise what is happening. So in the absence of resident doctors, you're supposed to also be seeing the patient.
Well, but that will, when resident doctors are not available, that is actually the patient at risk.
Like we said, even with us available, we are overwhelmed. Not to talk of when we are not around. We are overwhelmed and we're not. We have a lot of people out there looking for opportunities to become resident doctors. They are not being employed. They keep telling us waiver. They need waiver for employment. They need waiver for employment. In every of our units, we are short-staffed. But the government will tell you they need waiver for employment. And then, now that we are not even around, then look at how it will be. Even if when we're around, we are overwhelmed by the public, the patients. We keep crying
Are you
year
able
in,
to
year out.
Are you able to give us an estimate? How many patients do you think may have lost their lives because of these long-running strike by resident doctors? Are we
Well,
able to quantify it?
I don't have the statistics. I don't have the statistics.
Is there an agency that should have these statistics?
Well, I don't work in the statistics department in the country. I think they should have an agency that should take statistics about things happening in the country.
Yes, because I'm asking, because if the government realize, I know this will run into thousands. If we realize how many people have died because resident doctors are on strike, I think it wouldn't ginger the government to take action, to start taking action.
That's why I'm talking about a very sensitive government. But unfortunately, the government of the day is not a sensitive one. It's a government that has resorted to threats, a government that has resorted to causing distraction, and a government that has refused to speak the truth. A government that does not care about the life of its people. That's what we have.
How does
That's
that
the
make you
truth.
feel?
I feel very bad for the government. As an individual, I feel bad that the government is treating this kind of problem with trivial hands. I feel very bad that the government of the day would not think of its people first. Instead, it results on blackmailing people and then thinking of being egotist and everything. I think the issue here is an ego issue because we have told you, we have given, as at April, we decided to step aside, to step down the strike, suspend it, and you told us you are working on our demands. Then you failed to work on it, compounded it, in fact, because in between that time and now, the migration of doctors was stopped by the head of service. And instead of them to agree that, okay, they have made a mistake, they decided to resort to blackmail and everything, emotional blackmail, per se. Because the people will, like you are asking now, you are interested in the statistics of people that have died, appealing to my conscience. And of course, we've given enough with our conscience. We've given enough, but the government has refused to budge. And that is where the problem
Okay.
is presently.
All right, let us hear from Mazi Okoye. Mazi Okoye, I can see your hand up. Mazi Okoye, I've asked you to unmute, so.
Yes, I've just unmuted. Thank you, Augusta. And thank you, our guest. My question is, what percentage of your residence doctors do you think works also in the private sector? Say, for example, operates a clinic or work in a private hospital, or are you prohibited from doing so? And the other question is, what effects do you think private hospitals and clinics has on the national health service in Nigeria? Thank you.
Thank you very much. As a resident doctor, there is no law prohibiting you from working in a private hospital, but you also have to weigh it yourself. Being a resident doctor is not a day's job. You would barely have time to even take care of yourself and your family, not to talk of having time to go into private practice. So it's very difficult for a resident doctor who is studious to have that time to mingle with private practice. So it's, if you ask me for percentage, I may tell you 0.04%, 0.000, because the work as a resident doctor is so hectic that you may not even find time for private practice. That's the truth. It's important to let us know that we have different categories of doctors. There are doctors from the beginning, ab initio, from graduation, that have gone into private practice. They are not resident doctors. There are doctors who have completed their residency training, who have become fellow of the colleges, that decided to go into private practice. They are not resident doctors. But once you're a resident doctor, the demand of your studies will not even give you that time to even take care of yourself and your family, not talk of going into private practice. Your second question, sorry, can you remind me?
The second question is, how would you assess that the private sector and health sector in Nigeria in regards to what is going on at the moment?
Okay. Well, you know, when it comes to private practice, it's individualistic. So every private hospital have their ways of doing their things. So, but you know, like we said, the biting economy will not even allow the populace to troop into the private hospitals at will. Because a lot of people actually come to the private and to the government hospitals because of costs, because of the economy, the way it is. The government hospitals still remain the cheapest place to access healthcare in the country.
Dr. Ahmed, let me ask you this. How long is the residency program?
It depends on what you are doing. It depends on your area of specialization. So there's no allotted time that you say, okay, there's no uniform time for the residency training. But it
can you give us an average?
Passing an exam. An average is like 6 years, 6 to 7 years, if all things being equal. 6, 7, 8 years, all things being equal. You know, it involves passing exams at different stages. So you wouldn't really say. Then there are some departments that their curriculum is shorter than others, and some are longer. So you wouldn't really say, okay, this is the time allotted for you.
Okay, and now that you are on strike, let me ask you this personally. Now, how have you been surviving without a salary? I don't know if you're going to work. Are you going to work?
No, I'm on strike. I only attend meetings like this. And then as the president of the association, I attend meetings like this.
Okay, so how are you surviving? No. How are you surviving without a salary, without allowances? How are you coping, especially in this economic.
Okay, we have gotten a threat that no work, no pay, and this is the first month. We are still waiting for our salary because we do not think we didn't just stop working because we love stop working. We didn't come to work because we have some demands on ground that have been trivialized. We have welfare issues to take care of. So a responsible government will not just say, will slam you with no work, no pay for a fault that is not yours. So far, this is the first month today started. We do not have a regular payment time in this country. So sometimes our salaries are held even onto the first and second week of the new month. So we are still hoping that we'll have our salaries. Because it will be very unfair not to pay us because we didn't just decide not to come to work out of convenience.
Television sharing, screen sharing, and the headline says over 4,500 Nigerian doctors flee to the UK since Buhari became president.
Like I said before, I'm afraid you wake up one day and discover that everybody has left the country.
Mazio Koye, I can see your hand is still up. Do you have something to say, or that was your previous comment? Mazio Koye?
Okay, let me ask you a question here, if you don't mind. Do you find this headline alarming? I also posted something on the chat box. United Kingdom is the most attractive country for Nigeria health workers. Over 7,230 Nigerian doctors and 3,562 nurses migrated to the UK from Nigeria. The largest exodus in a single year took place in 2019, with over 1,347 Nigerian doctors left Nigeria to work in the United Kingdom in 1 year. And now we are being told that in just 5 years, 4,500 Nigerian doctors have left the shores of the country to work in the United Kingdom. Isn't that alarming? Isn't that enough cause for the Nigerian government to say, hey, look, let us do something about it? I also saw a video last week where Nigerian doctors were queuing at, was this Sheraton Hotel? They want to run away to Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
So how does that make you feel?
As a doctor, it's making me feel bad for the country. It's making me feel very, very bad for our policymakers.
And before you continue, let me also point out that this report is only the United Kingdom, because even told me that the number fleeing to Canada is more.
Going to Canada, we have people going to the Caribbean, we have people going to Australia, we have people going all over the world because the system is bad. Things are better out there. This is a system where you are working on coals, hot coals without protection. They expect you, in fact, sometimes we even have to pay for our patients' care as doctors. We task ourselves within the departments to pay for some patients' care. So things are so bad that once you see some green lights, why would you stay? It's not surprising to me because I work in this country. I have friends abroad who tell me how it is over there. So if I wake up and I see this kind of news, I'm not surprised.
Okay, let us call on Mazio Koye. Mazio Koye, your hand is still up. Remember that if you have spoken and you do not want to speak again, kindly lower your hand so I know not to call you again. Mazio Koye.
Thank you, Augusta. Thank you, our guest again. Is your protest and your abstaining from work also to do with your working terms and condition, or just the salary that you haven't been paid? Because I think you guys are actually miracle workers with regards to the mega hospital conditions and the environment you have to work in. Is this also a problem for you the terms and condition of your work. Is that part of what you're protesting also?
Yes, we protest about working environment every day, day in, day out. At the end of the day, we end up improvising to carry out a lot of things. So it has always been part of our protest. It's still part of our welfare, because if you are exposed, that sometimes you want to suture, you not even find adequate materials to suture. You end up injuring yourself trying to improvise something. So it's part of our protest. There were times when in this COVID era, getting face masks to protect ourselves was a challenge. We buy these things ourselves at the end of the day. We do not have adequate PPEs in this COVID era. A lot of our colleagues have succumbed to exposure. So a lot of things are really going wrong. It will not just protesting. If we should know that we are not protesting for salary increment at this point. Our strike has nothing to do with salary increment. We're only talking, when we talk about money here, we're talking about non-payment of salary, non-payment of minimum wage, non-payment of salary shortfalls. So we're not even talking about increasing salary. Let me shock you. In 1992, our hazard allowance was raised to 5,000. That is what it has remained up till today. Hazard allowance, 5,000 naira. 5,000 naira cannot treat a bout of cough that you get when you are exposed to a patient with cough. So this demands,
because naira has devalued since then.
yes, 1992 should be about 29 years ago. I'm sure it was jumbo pay when they paid it then in 1992, and it was well celebrated. But why wouldn't they go along with it when the naira is devaluated now?
Yeah.
So we ask for salary, we ask for hazard allowance to be reviewed, and then all we get is threats of no work, no pay. When we're talking about COVID-19 inducement allowance, as at that time, the same Minister of Labor promised some months, and at the end of the day, he denied it. He didn't say it was for 6 months. Meanwhile, he said it was, they will pay for 6 months and then assess to see. Up till date that we are talking, COVID is still something we talk about. COVID has not been taken care of. Yet nobody is getting COVID-19 inducement allowance anymore. But we're not even talking about that. They only paid for 3 months, and that was all. Initially, the promise was that they would pay for 3 months, then they will now assess the situation, pay for another 3 months. And as we speak, even the 3 months, some persons have not gotten it up till now. Within those periods, a lot of people have died. Their death in benefits for their death have not been paid to their next of kin. But the government will quickly come and tell us they'll pay the money to insurance companies. By paying it to insurance companies, does it translate to it being in the account of the next of kin of our colleagues that have died? No. So we are not even asking for salary increment. We're only talking about pay us the one that we have worked for, that your policy say they shouldn't pay again through give me. Pay us shortfalls. Abia State, pay 19 months salary are owing your people. Imo State, 8 months salary. Some other states are still owing. The federal government is owing as much as 6 months, 7 months in some federal teaching hospitals. Our training funds pay us.
Oh.
We use our money for training and everything. We still don't get it. Our workforce.
Okay.
No. Okay.
Dr. Ahmed, are you still saying something?
Yeah, I was about saying that the manpower is terrible. You see only one person. As I speak with you, I'm training in the nephrology unit. But for almost 6 months, I was the only senior registrar in my unit until one person joined. And even when he joined, they had to be moving him around to supervise other units because we don't have adequate hands. So you now see one person doing the work of 6, 7 people. And at the end, you will still think we'll not break down. We've been breaking down. We've been managing ourselves, we've been breaking down, and we've been getting up. All our sacrifices to see that people get well. Our families are not even enjoying us because they hardly see us at all.
Let us hear from Eagle Eyes. That should be our last comment before we close the program. Eagle Eyes.
Good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I'm Dr. George Davison, and I want to start by commending Dr. Ahmed. Well done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Dr. Like I said, I was in the policy formulation in the Federal Ministry of Health. Your comments that we enjoyed today, I was in the NICLAS. Myself and Dr. Ahmed, then Nigeria Medical Association president. We met the president one-on-one. Presently, what baffles me, Dr. Ngege, who were in the same office, Dr. Evelyn Ngege, the wife, were all in Federal Ministry of Health. What I want to tell you is that it's not new. But what is baffling me is that why Dr. Ngege would do such a thing that he's doing is neither here nor there from the profession he left. And today he's a politician. All of us may be tomorrow may be politician. But all I want to say is that this is just a tip of the iceberg. Because I know what we went through, even the attack we got to get the comments established today. So Dr. Abdul, you are fighting a just cause. Don't be bitter. You'll be threatened. You will even be dry. You want to be attempt to be dry. Be focused. You are not fighting for yourself. You are fighting for doctors and for Nigerians in generality. It's a matter of time. This thing will fall in place. We talk about 1992 when it was 50,000. Can you imagine? The politicians, these are moving, but they don't look at, and then they deceive. They come to the bed, have been arrested for this kind of thing severally, as Dr. Maybe, but don't be bitter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Eagle Eyes. And now from the comment section, we have a comment that said, what is the role of the health minister in all this? Dr. Ahmed, can you please comment on that?
Surprisingly, the health minister seems to be dancing to the tune of the labor minister. I expected the health minister to stand on his ground because this is his own ministry we are talking about directly. But I'm sorry to say, we've not really seen any positive change coming from there.